And welcome back to Hannity. So, according to an explosive report from Circa News, just weeks before the election, the FBI received a warrant to investigate a server connected to then-candidate Donald Trump's businesses, but they found no wrongdoing, no connection to Russia. And around the same time, a FISA warrant was also granted to investigate potential Russian influence in the election. The new information is raising very serious questions that President Obama and his former administration need to start answering to ensure that the American people, that there was nothing going on by an opposition party in the middle of a presidential campaign. Here now are the journalists that broke this story from Circa News, Sara and John Solomon. Sara, I'm going to start with you because John wouldn't show up yesterday. But this is really important. So there were two warrants granted. One was the FISA warrant. Explain that and the other warrant, and explain that they found no evidence of any Russian collusion at all, and that's what your report says.
Yeah, basically what we discovered through our sources was that the investigation into Trump's server, which remember is not inside Trump Tower but outside of Trump Tower but registered to Trump, showed no evidence of any criminal activity that would warrant any kind of prosecution of anybody in the Trump team. So that was a very short-lived investigation. Now, there was also a separate FISA. It was an overall FISA, and I don't have as much information on that. That FISA, though, was a general FISA that covered the whole Russian hacking investigation. Now, whether or not there were people connected to that FISA, we don't really know. But we know that the warrant to look into Trump's server found nothing criminal in that investigation.
Was it one FISA and one not?
Exactly. One was the FISA. The server was not a FISA. It was a regular warrant. The FBI had a traditional investigation when they went into that server, and it was very short-lived. So they didn't spend a lot of time in the server. They went in there, they didn't find anything, and in fact, they said they didn't investigate any emails and they didn't listen to any phone calls. So,
well, let me go. I mean, granted, the president put out a statement that he didn't order it, nobody in the White House ordered it. That's irrelevant to me. The question is, did he know about it? And 3 weeks, a couple of weeks before a presidential election, you have a sitting president looking at the opposition party's server. Now, I know from my own dealings with people in the campaign at the time, they had Trump email addresses, Trump organization email addresses.
Of course. Yep. In fact, many times that's how I communicated with them. That's
right.
Yep.
Exactly. So what can you add to this in terms of, you know, is there any political opposition involvement? Like, the first name that would come to mind is Sid Vicious Blumenthal.
Sure. Yeah.
Could he be involved in this?
Let's look at what was going on in October. Hillary Clinton got surprised by the announcement that the email investigation on her own email was restarting. And then all of a sudden you start to see a lot of Democrats, Harry Reid, Slate Magazine, starting to raise questions.
Hillary, too, tweeted.
Yes, that's right, tweeting back in October 30th or 31st. It appears that somewhere in October, whatever was going on in the intelligence community became a political talking point for the Democrats. Now the question is it coincidental? Or did something actually happen where people passed on information that the intelligence community had found? We don't know the answer.
Let me ask you about the executive order, 12333, altered 2 weeks before he goes. Now 16 other agencies can see all of this. Does that look like a trap that was being set by the former president for the new president to you?
Good question. It certainly expanded so many people to the access of FISA warrants and NSA surveillance that had long been kept in a very small group of people. Whether it's a trap or whether it was an opportunity to get the rest of the Russia story out before President Obama left, or whether there was...
You're saying your investigation and all of your sources said the FBI FISA warrant found no collusion at all. That means the media has been wrong for all these months about this Russian connection narrative.
One of the most important things, if you watched all the TV shows, you would swear, not yours of course, but you'd swear that the whole FBI investigation has been about Trump and Russia, and we've been told time and time again,
just the opposite.
Trump was a very small part of it. Ancillary things came in, we checked it out, we move on if there's no criminality.
Because there was nothing, and they found nothing that would be criminal.
All right. That's right.
Let me just ask this question to Sara. I should ask you most of the questions, Sara, because John didn't show up last night. But all these WikiLeaks revelations about all of the different techniques that the CIA was using to spy. Now, I guess the NSA, I always thought that was their charter. Is the CIA now our big spy agency? And, for example, stolen malware that they say you can attribute cyber attacks to, say, a country like Russia? In other words, they'll put Russia's fingerprints on it, but it could be happening within our own government?
We just don't have the answers to that. And I've spoken to people about this. Some suggest yes, that's a possibility. Others say no way, they would have never done it, because if you think about that, that means they would have been hacking into the DNC. So I just want to go back, though, Sean, because you talked about Executive Order 12333, which is what everybody calls it, 12333. And there's a lot of U.S. intelligence sources that are telling me, look, it's time for President Trump to rescind that expansion that Obama gave. Immediately. And I've contacted the White House. I'm waiting to hear back. I know there are people talking about it there, but I know there's a lot of concern that as long as this expansion stays, there's going to be more and more people being able to see this raw data, which means they'll be seeing the names of Americans, right?
Guys, you've been doing great work. I would urge you to continue to stay on this, because you have a lot of lazy counterparts out there that are way overpaid, and you are running circles around them. Great job. Thank you both.
Thank you, Sean.